Hey there, I'm Kaiser Neko.
I'm Lanny Pator.
And this is Dragon Ball Z Abridged Behind the Scenes.
Episode 2.
Dragon Ball Z Abridged began as a humble fan-made project created by Scott Kaiser Neko Frericks, Nick Lanny Pator Landis, and Curtis Takahata 101 are not, which quickly grew to become much greater than the sum of its parts, to say the least. And with the success of Season 1 now in the books, the team would begin gearing up for the Herculean task of tackling the Freeza Saga. Earlier this year, I reached out to Scott, the director and co-creator of Dragon Ball Z Abridged, to ask if he would like to share his experiences and insights regarding his time spent on this part of the show. Thankfully, he agreed, and along with Nick Landis, they diligently answered all of my questions regarding what would become their most ambitious and popular project to date.
Yes, I can win, I can break, I can do this! What are you doing? Nothing.
The leap in Dragon Ball Z Abridged's popularity is clear from Season 1 to 2. When did you think the show itself got better?
Episode, what was that?
14?
13 or, yeah, it was 14.
It was around that point where we suddenly had to expand the cast. Like, we went from characters that we had been writing for a while, and it was like, okay, no, we now have our main villain, we have his henchmen, we have Dende, and
Guru, Nail,
Yeah.
like everybody. Like the cast exploded from Season 1, and we needed to pull in more people, or at least find more voices amongst ourselves to do that.
Yeah.
And it's also here where we wanted to like lean back from some of those lol so random jokes and actually try to focus on character and like how those characters relate to each other, just make actual character comedy.
part of that stemmed from how we started writing Frieza.
Kinda killing our guys.
Oh, we have more of those things back at the ship. It's not like we're losing anything valuable.
We didn't think to write him like this, but not even unintentionally, it just coincidentally kind of harkened back to something like Dewey Griffin.
Can't be evil, like it's evil and loving it.
Yes, he is absolutely in love with the violence that he inflicts upon other people.
And furthermore is absolutely in control of almost every scene he is in until he isn't.
No, that was a rhetorical question.
And I gave you a rhetorical answer.
Good lord, I traded Vegeta for this.
And that was why, in that opening scene, we just made sure that his quips were incredibly dark.
Frieza, arguably one of the most infamous villains in anime history, would play an integral role in the episodes to come and Saga at large. He needed to be measured, sinister, ruthless, but above all else, funny. Certainly a tough tightrope to walk for any voice actor in the recording booth, and so finding the right man for the job became a top priority. When it came to cast for Season 2, I'd be remiss not to mention Little Karibo's performance as Frieza. Who reached out to who, and what was that like?
This is really funny, actually. We were casting for Ginyu, and we weren't sure who was going to play him, because originally, Frieza was going to be you.
Yeah, doing a Linda Young impression.
It sounded like this, dirty monkeys!
It sounds awful now, I'm glad I didn't do it. But
But we were casting for Ginyu, and I thought to myself, it would be really funny if Little Karibo ended up playing Ginyu, right?
yeah, and he sent us an audition like where like the scene where Ginyu is talking to Frieza about the Dragon Balls. But his Frieza was just so on point.
Yeah, like I was just sitting there, he even admitted it was a stealth audition for Frieza. It's a funny scene that he wrote himself between Frieza and Ginyu, and yeah, his Ginyu was good, his Frieza was perfect.
You are certainly on the ball today, Captain Ginyu. If you were a dog, I'd scratch your belly. If you were a cat, I'd give you warm milk until you started to purr. But since you are neither of these things, What if I was a giraffe? What? Pretend I'm a giraffe.
So it's like, well, I guess we'll find another voice for Ginyu, because you're Frieza.
Yeah, you're Frieza now, and we end up with Antfish's Ginyu, and he blew it out of the water too. So.
And the session that I think I remember most is either the first episode where he's in his second form, which was a lot of fun, where he gets to kind of, move down to his base and stop being high Frieza and stop being low Frieza. That was a lot of fun.
I think impalement is my favorite way to kill a person.
But the other thing that I remember, and just because I knew how hard this line was going to hit the moment that he recorded it, which was,
Frieza's going to...
Oh, no, don't mind me. By all means, give me some ideas.
it was my favorite delivery of that entire season. It made my skin crawl the first time I heard it. I'm like, ooh!
That was also the point where, oh cool, he can also be fucking intimidating.
He is menacing.
When we had to get to Goku versus Frieza, we were so worried.
We were very worried about that because up until that point, Vegeta played off Frieza so well. Vegeta's like pompous attitude, bouncing off of Frieza's flippant, not giving a fuck about his pompous attitude.
That's right. You're not dealing with the average Saiyan warrior anymore, Frieza.
He'll just put him in his place every time. As soon as Goku showed up on the field, it's like, oh man, we don't have Vegeta here anymore to bounce off of Frieza. Once we started writing for that and realizing that Goku's just too dumb to understand Frieza's threats,
Yes.
that light bulb just went off for us like, oh no, this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
They have a way better dynamic than we ever even imagined.
How do you function?
Hey, I'm just like any other guy. I pay my taxes one leg at a time.
Frieza had become a welcomed addition to the cast, bouncing well off of the overzealous Saiyan Prince, the endlessly idiosyncratic Ginyu Force, and of course, the lovably simple Goku. However, and perhaps more importantly, the expanded cast featured in Season 2 offered Team 4-Star countless hilarious opportunities to manipulate existing plotlines, introduce new jokes, and establish fresh takes on classic, pre-existing, and newly introduced characters. What were some of the moments you were most excited to write for in Season 2?
There was one joke I know we came up with very early on, which was when Krillin is getting stabbed, and we had already initiated the own counter. It's like, okay, he does it like a bunch of times, just bucking him up and down. We need a one-up there, like just which inadvertently, we did not plan this, but people have pegged to, oh, so that's why he survived the spirit bomb and came back to Earth. That's how he survived those two things. He had 2 extra lives. We're like, we just accept that. It's like, yeah, no, we really plan ahead for those things.
Okay, thanks, die.
It was definitely a ride through that entire saga, just trying to come up with, like writing for the Ginyus. Oh man, writing for the Ginyus was actually tougher than you'd think because they're already these wild, crazy characters. But we found some niches for them. We found some things to lean on and go full force on.
Wheel of Death!
I'm still very proud of just having Raccoon being a meathead pro wrestler instead of words that I'm not allowed to say on the internet for what they do in the dub.
Raccoon agrees.
Despite the show primarily serving as a parody, the creative freedom Team 4-Star had over their project allowed them to make narrative and character changes fans of the source material would have appreciated. Armed with decades worth of hindsight, the team could write jokes and in some cases entire characters, knowing full well how they were going to progress and how they were going to participate in the story moving forward. How did you decide what to change and what to put your own spin on?
When it came to like diverging from the source material entirely, I think the first real big one was turning Guru into a genocidal monster. Nobody's gonna see that coming. I mean, first we did it for shock value.
By the way, not planned at first. It wasn't until we came up
with the albino
Namekian line when he said,
"Oh, an albino Namekian, kill him like the rest."
And then we're like, wait, what were the rest?
And wait,
what happened?
There was a drought and oh, wait, we have something that we can work with here.
Yeah, the original version was a storm that ravaged the planet. We turned it into a drought, and we made the drought because Guru drank all of the water, got fat, and then blamed the drought on the albino Namekians, leading to a genocide that would then basically seal his death at the end of Season 2.
We tried to hint at that pretty hard with the Lord Slug movie, saying that he was the evil half of Lord Slug.
Dear Slug, it is I, your other half. If you're looking for a good time, hit up Earth. I hear they've got Dragon Balls there.
It's hard to say exactly why we did every single change that we did. Some were significantly less successful than others, but you know.
I mean, personally, I'm a huge fan of the Kami-Piccolo conversation before they fuse. That was another one where I just sat down and I wrote.
Originally, once Piccolo fused with his other half, Kami, the latter was written off the show entirely, effectively finding the only way to truly end a character in the Dragon Ball mythos. However, the clever addition of an internalized monologue between Kami and Piccolo not only allowed the team to keep a beloved character relevant in their own creative way, but it also gave Piccolo someone to go back and forth with at any time, opening up countless opportunities for character growth and comedy. His fusion with Kami was of course welcomed by the community, however, it wasn't the first time Team 4-Star pulled this clever trick.
It was so long ago, but once the idea was brought up, it was like, yes, that makes perfect sense. Because as soon as, like, we get back to anywhere, Piccolo is alone.
Yeah.
And it gave us something to do whenever Piccolo is fighting. He had something to go back and forth with.
I'm two guys now. Sup?
It really did develop better than we could have expected. It made for so many moments where Piccolo could reflect on something and think internally and have a conversation. All these scenes where, you know, Piccolo's always that silent guy who never says a lot, we got to make funnier and even give depth.
Yeah, and we gave like, in case it didn't work, we gave ourselves the easy out of should fade into your subconscious sooner or later.
Innovative ideas like the addition of Nail, Kami, and Piccolo's internalized monologue was most certainly inventive and celebrated. However, the true standout moment of this arc was yet to come. Despite containing some of the most compelling and detestable villains, best character moments, and one of the most captivating cat and mouse games utilizing all of the major and minor players in the cast, the Freeza Saga would be remembered first and foremost as the backdrop of what is still to this day widely accepted as one of the most iconic snapshots in animation history.
What? Dad?
How did you guys approach the famous Super Saiyan scene?
We knew one thing specifically, that Krillin had to go out on a joke,
Yep.
and that you can't immediately precede a joke with a serious moment like that. So we knew that Goku going Super Saiyan had to be the start of the next episode. That was first and foremost, because you can't have that shift in tone and then end. If you're going to end a parody, a comedy, you have to, like, go out on a joke or go out on an oh shit moment. Goku going Super Saiyan felt like way too big of a thing to end on. It needed to kind of be the start of episode 30 and onward.
When we actually approached that scene proper as how to write it, we kind of just decided, okay, the actual transformation itself can be mostly serious. Frieza can kind of be making jokes in the background, but Goku at this point, he is not upset that, you know, oh, Krillin owed him money or some stupid reason like that. He just lost his best friend.
I'm going to break you.
What?
Like a Kit Kat bar.
It was in that moment where Goku finally got to be the serious character, because he doesn't get a lot of those moments.
And we needed to write that mood shift for him from that flippant, oh hey, you know, I'm the underdog in this fight, we can try to pull this off, to I'm pissed and I'm going to fucking kill this guy, you guys get out of here.
Get back to the ship.
But what about you?
If Piccolo dies, then all this was pointless. Take him, get to the ship, and get out of here!
Despite Dragon Ball Z Abridged being a parody of Akira Toriyama's original work, the team felt it necessary to give the Super Saiyan transformation scene the respect it deserves, for the first time scripting their incarnation of the character Goku as a much more serious Saiyan warrior. And with that, Season 2 came to a close, achieving heights far exceeding any reasonable expectation for a simple fan-made parody. A well and truly tough act to follow. After the success of Season 2, was there any anxiety about approaching the rest of the series?
Oh god, yeah.
There was a lot of anxiety during the production of near the finale of Season 2, because at this point, we had been doing it for, 5 years at that point? I think episode 30 was our 5th anniversary. Even at that point, we were starting to feel the burn, making these episodes month to month, sometimes a little longer in between, sometimes a little shorter. It was a point where we had to ask ourselves, you know, at what point do we want to end this? And there was a conversation about ending at the episode 30 finale at a certain point. We were going back and forth, like, well, we can do like these other things. It's like, but we still have this, we can still do this. And it's like, and it was also at this point where our channel had been taken down for the first time.
Oh yeah,
because that was a big struggle for us. Like, look, if we don't have a channel, we don't have things to put out. And it's like, because YouTube was shifting way more to the side of corporations, the pendulum swung back a bit, now it's going the other way. It's been a weird process on that front. So there was a point in time where we actually thought about ending it at Season 2.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we decided to continue on to the androids and Cell at that point. That was probably where the most of the pressure came from near the end of Namek for us. And that was all internal, stuff that we never talked about outwardly.
That was a little bit stressful for us because after 5 years of working on the same project, you have to stand back and say, okay, this is another 5 years of our life to do this, because
even just for Season 3, which had more episodes still, because as Dragon Ball went on, each arc had progressively more episodes to it.
Yeah. And that was pretty stressful and a little bit scary at that time, but I'm really obviously glad that we went through with it, because season 3 is my favorite season. It's just my favorite.
Season 2 went above and beyond in both the writing and production departments, far exceeding any and all expectations left behind after Season 1, delivering magnificent moments, delightful humor, and titillating voice acting. Their sophomore outing into the Dragon Ball narrative was most definitely their strongest to date, having now started to produce a product with a level of polish rivaling official productions. The team took a well-deserved 6-month break before returning to what will become their most ambitious project to date.
I am perfect, and you will quote everything I say.
If you would like to see our coverage of Season 1, you can check out that on Team 4-Star's official YouTube channel right here. And if you're interested in seeing the final part of this documentary series covering Dragon Ball Z Abridged's 3rd season, the Cell Saga, and all that went into its creation, subscribe to be the first person to see it next week. Thanks for watching.